We will take public testimony at various stages through the hearing. We ask that you sign in on the sign-in sheet to my left by the front door, state your name, any affiliation and residence. And you can also testify by providing us written testimony at ccc.wm@boston.gov. We are here with our friends from BPS and Public Facilities regarding Docket 1104, message and order approving an appropriation of $2,200,000 for the purpose of paying for the cost of a feasibility study and schematic design work associated with the renovation or new construction of a facility for the Josiah Quincy Upper School, for which the City of Boston may be eligible for a grant from the Mass School Building Authority, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Public Facilities Department on behalf of Boston Public Schools. We are here with John Hanlon, Chief of Operations for Boston Public Schools, as well as the Chief of Staff, Brian McLaughlin, for Public Facilities Department. Hi, gentlemen. It's up.
Morning.
You take it away.
Good morning, Councilor. Thank you. As you mentioned, my name is John Hanlon. I'm the COO for Boston Public Schools. In order to keep this as short as possible, I'll wrap up by just being brief and saying that we really appreciate the City Council's time today, seeking this appropriation for the Quincy Upper project, which, as you know, is a long time in coming. Happy to say again, as usual, that PFD is providing tremendous support, and here, as usual, is Brian McLaughlin at my side to present the presentation to you today. Thank you,
John.
Thank you, John. Thank you, councilors. Good morning.
Good morning.
Before you today, we're here to discuss the appropriation for the feasibility study funds for the Josiah Quincy Upper School. We're working in collaboration with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The MSBA is the state funding agency that oversees reimbursement grants to cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth for public school construction. The MSBA has two programs that they run, the Accelerated Repair Program, which we've been before you several times over the past couple of years, which has resulted in over $60 million in total project costs, with over $35 million in reimbursement from the MSBA since 2015. We're here with JQS again, and that's a core program. That the core program focuses on projects that are above just straightforward repairs. Josiah Quincy is one of those. The Dearborn, the Boston Arts Academy, and the future Carter School will also be a core program. The existing Josiah Quincy Upper School is located in the former Abraham Lincoln Building at 152 Arlington Street in Bay Village. It was built in 1911. The school also utilizes a modular unit at 900 Washington Street, which is right across the street from the Josiah Quincy Elementary School, a couple of blocks away from the JQUS. The JQUS serves grades 6 to 12. They provide an international baccalaureate program, which requires a full range of academic, social, cultural, and physical education programming. The current facility does not meet the needs of this program. The 1911 Lincoln Building consists of just over 72,000 square feet. And although the building has seen some small renovations in the past to upgrade technology, there have been no major projects in the building in the past 50 years. The facility's lighting, fire alarm system, accessibility above the first floor, toilet rooms in academic spaces are lacking and do not meet city standards. Most importantly, the building does not have appropriate spaces for the school to deliver their desired educational program. The school lacks a library media center. It doesn't have a gym, and the classrooms are not designed to support 21st century learning. So the start of collaboration with the MSBA began in 2011. At that time, the city was authorized to conduct a feasibility study. They hired the OPM firm of Skanska and the architectural firm of HMFH. The city worked diligently to identify a new home for the JQS with the goal of keeping the school in near proximity to Chinatown. Led by BPS and PFD, the city explored over 29 possible sites, including city-owned land, BPDA-owned land, and privately owned land. At 2 points over the past 8 years, there was a path forward with site selection. The first came in 2013 when the city and the MSBA agreed to combine the future JQS with the Boston Arts Academy and co-locate the school on city-owned parcel 25. The cost of the proposed school at the time was estimated at $250 million, and there was no money allocated to support the project. Parcel 25 was a complex site and added a level of risk that could potentially require a city financial contribution to the project that would negatively impact and affect future school building projects in the city for years to come. Not wanting to impact future building for BPS, Mary Walsh requested and was granted by the MSBA an opportunity to revisit the co-located JQS BAA site. That request was granted by the MSBA, and the two projects were separated and took their own path. In 2014, site selection for an independent JQS began, this time focusing on city-owned and BPDA-owned property. The second site selection exercise resulted in a new JQS being built on the existing McKinley School at 90 Warren Ave in the south end. The city and its consultant team of Skanska and HMFH moved forward with the design of this location. However, in 2016, it was decided that the complexity of displacing an existing school community and relocating to another school proved to be too difficult, resulting in the need to begin a third site selection process for the JQS, which culminated this past June when the city purchased the Boston Chinese Evangelical Church located at 249 Harrison Ave. I'm having some trouble with the clicker here. All right, you got it. Follow on?
You got it.
All right. The purchase of this piece of property will be the new permanent home for JQS. It will utilize 249 Harrison Ave and 900 Washington Street, which is the existing modular units. The parcel is just under 40,000 square feet. The student enrollment of the future school will be 650 students. The building will likely be over 150,000 square feet. That will provide enough room to support the educational program needed for the International Baccalaureate program. The design will likely take 18 to 24 months with a goal of starting construction in either 2021 or 2022 and opening the new building ideally in 2023 or 2024. This site keeps the JQS in Chinatown for generations to come, and it will allow the school to build on the existing partnerships in the Chinatown community. In order to begin the next design of the JQS, we are requesting the City Council appropriate $2.2 million for the city to move forward with Skanska and HMFH to work on the third feasibility study for the future building. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
to
And,
answer any questions.
Sure, thanks, Brian. And we were joined at the beginning of your presentation by our friend from South Boston, Councilor Ed Flynn, which this is in your district as well. Well, I think you answered most of the questions I had in your presentation, and as you started out saying, this is the third go at trying to find a permanent home for the Quincy, which is a gem in Councilor Flynn's district. 24 months out, that's pro forma for a site like this, or is this more complicated because?
That's a typical time frame for the MSBA. I think the site will need some additional design time as it's adjacent to the Mass Pike. So the HVAC system that we're going to include in this building is going to be pretty significant to make sure that any of the pollutants that are coming off the highway aren't being brought into the building.
Right.
It's also additionally going to be a pretty high building, probably 7 stories high. So that's going to also require some unique design, if you will.
Right.
But our goal right now is to complete design in 2021.
Right.
Working within the MSBA process, that might be bumped out to 2022.
Right. And Brian, again, forgive me, but looking at the site plan, and it's adjacent right next door to the elementary school, which is great, right? It's kind of their feeder anyway, so proximity. Will there be demo as part of this project?
Yeah, so we'll demolish the existing modular unit, and if you look at the future JQS, the bottom right-hand corner is where the Boston Chinese Evangelical Church is. That's a smaller building, and that will also come down to make way for a new building.
Gotcha. Great. Counselor Zachem?
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for persevering on this. It's been a hot topic since my first election, and probably beyond, long before then, in 2013. Certainly the Quincy is one of the gems of our public school system, and it's exciting to see this moving forward. One of my questions is, what is, if anything, are we looking at doing at the existing site? Is there thought, maybe this is a BPS question, to repurposing it for another school, to go into surplus property, or are we just way too early in any discussion for that?
It's still several years out before that becomes a fully vacated building, so we have some time to think through that. It could end up being a site that we fully renovate and prepare for another high school. It could be that we use that site as swing space for a short period of time and then eventually divest of it. It's really too early to tell, but there's a number of different options that we can consider.
Great. And so it's 650 students. That's grades 6 through 12?
Yes.
Will be at the upper school. Okay. And how many are at the lower school now? Do you know? Is it?
I don't know. We can find that, though.
Okay. But typically that's the path. They go from
Yes.
the lower school, the upper school, maybe with a few new folks coming in during that transition.
Yes, by and large, the students from the elementary school, for the most part, matriculate onto the exam schools or to the upper school.
No. Okay. Excellent. No, thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Thank you. Counselor Flynn?
Thank you, Councilor Ciamo, and Councilor Zachem as well. And thank you to John and to Brian for your presentation and for your work on this issue. And I just want to say thank you to Mayor Walsh and the administration for great work, excellent work on building a new school in Chinatown, the JQS. Brian, I know you talked about the HVAC system, that it's going to be complex. I know you highlighted some of the environmental concerns as well coming from the Mass Pike and the transportation system close to South Station with the trains and buses. But can you talk a little about the HVAC system and how it will improve the air quality in and around the school, but also is there something else we're doing in terms of our location to the Mass Pike?
Yeah, so again, we're just starting design, but we've worked with Skanska in the past. They were the architectural firm that was designing the building over parcel 25, again, adjacent to a Southeast Expressway. That plan actually, we're capping part of the Southeast Expressway to build, and that's why the cost was in the unforeseen future cost was so high. So they did a lot of work with their consultant team that they brought on to identify what type of HVAC systems would be appropriate for a school adjacent to a highway. They did a lot of work with school building construction in Los Angeles that had similar sited buildings, and they're bringing that knowledge to the table to identify what's the best type of system that we could put into this building to make sure that any of those pollutants don't come into the building. That's already been discussed with them. I can't speak to really any other particulars about the design of the building at this time because we're just getting going at this site. Once this money is appropriated, we'll begin to execute the contract with these folks, and that's when design will really start ramping up.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up on that, are we able, during the appropriate time, but are we able to work with the Mass DOT as it relates to, fumes and air pollution coming from the Mass Turnpike and seeing what they can also do in terms of limiting the exposure of air pollutants coming directly from the Mass Pike highway system into the Chinatown area?
I'm sure as part of what HMFH will be doing, we'll probably be conducting some air quality tests in and around that building to identify what some of the debris is coming off, or some of the pollutants. We can reach out to DOT to identify if they have any previous studies or anything like that, but I don't know if this particular project would be able to work with them to figure out if there's anything that they can do. It might be requesting through DOT to have a separate meeting to identify if they could put up, I don't know, some sort of barrier or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing some work on this issue, and, we'll stay in contact and keep you posted on some of the outreach we're doing with the City of Boston Public Health Commission as well. 7 stories for the new building. Can you tell me a little about the elevator system, how it's going to work, and what the physical setup eventually might be for special needs students as it relates to the elevator system?
Sure. So going into the building, obviously, would be fully accessible, keeping all the students who might have any potential disability have access to every area of the building. With a 7 to 8 story building, I believe it's considered a high rise. So one of the things that HMFH will be doing is figure out what code compliance is required for a building that goes 7 to 8 stories high. They work in the city. They've worked in the city a lot, so they should have a pretty good handle. They'll have their own code consultants on board that will work with PFD, BPS, ISD to identify how they can make sure this building fits for everyone. In knowing that the JQS works with the community around them, we'll also have to take into account some of the more public spaces like the gymnasium, the auditorium, maybe some of the larger rooms on the lower levels to make sure that it's accessible to all community.
Thank you. And at the appropriate time as well, can we also communicate with the City of Boston Transportation Department, making sure that whether it's during the construction phase or during the planning phase, how are we going to connect the JQS school to the new school? Is there a better system in terms of pedestrian safety walking across some of those major streets, and just maybe getting a traffic study from City of Boston Transportation Department, just to make sure that our students that are going to the school, a lot of them come from downtown Boston, as you know, from the south end, Back Bay, Beacon Hill, certainly Chinatown, but a lot of them are walking to school as well. Can we just also consider the pedestrian safety plan as well?
Of course, that'll be part of the design as well, working closely with BPS to identify where the students come from and creating the safest path for them to travel to get to school.
Okay. And MSBA program, I know it's under the leadership of Treasurer Goldberg. So we also want to say thank you to Treasurer Goldberg and her team as well for really supporting the residents of Boston. Can you tell me a little about I also represent the Bay Village, where the Abraham Lincoln is currently located. Can you tell me a little about who owns that school? And I know Councilor Zakem highlighted it earlier, but can you talk about that particular piece of property?
So the Abraham Lincoln Building, where JQUS is currently located, is a BPS school, BPS property. We own the site, and as mentioned to Councilor Zakem, it's not yet clear what we'll do with that site when the Quincy Upper project is completed. Again, we have a number of options to consider.
And what would I know you highlighted it briefly, but can you go over some of those options again in terms of what the city might use it for?
It's really a clean slate, so to speak. We could tear the building down and rebuild a school. We could use the structure that's in place. It's very outdated and has not had, as Brian McLaughlin mentioned, any meaningful upgrades in decades. but we could do a gut renovation of the building and prepare it for a new school potentially. We could use the school after some rehabilitation as a swing space for other school projects that come up over the next several years, or we could divest ourselves of that site as we've done with other properties in the past. It's really too early to tell right now. Certainly when the time comes for us to begin engaging the community and having those conversations years before something is actually put in motion, then we'll have those conversations.
Thank you. And just on an unrelated issue, can you give me a little bit of update on the Carter School? How are we doing on the therapeutic pool for our special needs students?
Sure. So the Carter is another school that we're working with the MSBA. They moved the Carter School forward several months ago. We started consultant selection the past couple weeks. We should be bringing on an owner's project manager within the next month. Then we'll bring on the architect. The OPM will assist us in bringing on the architect. So we should be starting design sometime early in 2020 on that project. Again, that will likely take 18 to 24 months. We've been working with the MSBA in the Carter School. Mark O'Connor is the principal out there. John Hanlon and his staff. We visited a couple of other therapy schools where we have another one this Wednesday, and just identifying what type of spaces these schools use that we can incorporate in the design of the future Carter School. 2 of the schools we visited have had therapeutic pools. In the normal MSBA process, they don't reimburse for pools, but I think they're working with us to hopefully have that as a reimbursable cost for this project.
Yeah, thank you. The Carter School is not in my district, but I've been there several times, and it's an excellent school, excellent teachers and administration staff there. And I know that therapeutic pool would be so helpful to those students. So I just want to say thank you to BPS staff for working hard, working closely with the Treasurer's office as well, and with the Mayor's office. I think that would be an incredible service for the residents of Boston, for the special needs students in Boston. So thank you for your great work on that.
Right. In regardless if MSBA does not participate in the reimbursement of a pool, it will be included in the design of the building, just because we know that these children will benefit so much from aquatic therapy.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And just to piggyback on that, right now, we actually transport them to use a pool.
Yeah, I know that the school utilizes, is it the Kennedy School in
Yeah,
Brighton?
right,
And
yeah.
there was I believe the Massachusetts Rehabilitation School out in Canton.
Right,
That they
right.
were working with to have some of their kids go out once or twice a week.
Right. So this will be really important to have at the facility itself. And we've been
100%.
at that one for quite a while, too. So, well, thank you. Nobody else has anything? Great. So as related to docket 1104, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.